Hello and welcome to this episode of You Don't Know What You're Doing. Today I'm joined by Richard Renda, who is the founder of Buzzbear Marketing. Richard's been on a journey like we all have, entrepreneur, founder, the journey, but there's also some quite cool things happening of a hobby turn something he's enjoying. So we'll get into that later on. But yeah, welcome to the podcast, Richard.
Yeah, cheers for having us, Ryan, mate. Thanks.
No worries, yeah. So I think we've kind of known each other a couple of years now, met at a few events, haven't we? Um,
Yeah, we've crossed paths quite a few times. I think at a couple of like networking events and also some like fundraiser stuff. So yeah, I've been following your journey. So yeah,
yeah.
bit of an online stalker.
Yeah, well, yeah. There you go. It can't be a bit of a north. I get some northerners on here, so yeah, no, it's enjoyable. So yeah, I just want to just like say, talking to a diverse range of people. We've got different stories, and who are happily like the theme of this podcast is you don't know what you're doing, as in like life just comes at you, your career comes at you, business comes at you, and you just roll with it. No one's really got a plan when you dig deep down. Who's ever thought 20 years ago this is where I thought I'd be? So
Yeah,
that's kind of so. Yeah, so I thought, like, say, take it back to kind of your schooling, what you did after that, and yeah, just take us through your journey.
yeah. I mean, at school I was not really academic. I was always one of those who was either chasing a ball or girls, and wasn't very good at either of them. So I had to do something for a living. And yeah, drawing and art were kind of my passion. But as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old lad, you don't go around and tell all your mates, oh, I really like art. It's not something that you kind of fully admit to. So yeah, college and university were focused around that kind of aspect of learning art, design. Went to university to do fine art and found that you can't make a lot of money from art unless you're dead or very, very good at it. So moved into graphic design and kind of never looked back from there. So out of uni, had jobs in design and marketing. And I think, you'll know this from being in the sector yourself, like people expect a designer to be a marketer, expect a marketer to be a designer, expect you to be a social media ways. They want you to wear so many different hats. And luckily I've got a massive head so I can fit about 7 hats on it. And just kind of fell into roles that were multifaceted. But yeah, the journey's been good. I mean, I've enjoyed a lot of roles that I've been in from a creative perspective, and I've been lucky enough to diversify in the sector as well. And in my roles, I've travelled a lot with a translation company doing marketing and design for them. Got to go over to Vietnam, America, places I'd never ever been, and to be honest with you, never thought I'd ever go as a lad from Manchester, being skint most of the time, not being able to afford it. Worked for massive brands like JD Sports and Bongo's Bingo, which were brilliant experiences in themselves, and not so great brands. I worked for an adult wear company for a while, where first week I was measuring dildos to produce packaging for them, and there's nothing more emasculating than having to get a tape measure out and measure a 15-inch dildo to design a box for it. Like, it just wasn't the greatest job, and didn't
Your
last.
wife said, what have you done at work today? Well
Yeah,
then.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, so it was one of those things that, yeah, it kind of shaped me as a professional, because I knew that obviously, it was a learning experience, and put me on a path to wanting to steer away from specific sectors. And yeah, I mean, Bongos was my last job before I set the agency up. It was a great experience, lovely bunch of people, and obviously their brand has gone from strength to strength. But I got a lot of learning from them on how to kind of blag it, if I'm honest with you. And I don't think they'd be offended by that, because they were a bunch of mates who started up a quiz night, then a bingo night, and it blossomed into something bigger. And I kind of sat there at like 38, 40 years of age and thought, God, I'm going to start up my own business now. Did I think that I'd have 5 employees 5 years later? No, I didn't. I thought it was just going to be a bedroom thing, and hopefully make enough money to pay my mortgage and make sure my kids don't starve. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's the premise of the podcast, isn't it? I had no idea what I was doing at the
Yeah.
time. I think I was sat in a car park in Denton, and I just went on Company's House and registered the name of the original business, which was MCCM, and thought, right, I'm going to do graphic design for people. I better start putting some stuff out on LinkedIn. And luckily, you know, things started going all right, and then the dreaded COVID hit. Everything went a bit belly up. But yeah, managed to kind of survive and had a bit of a, you know, a turnover in personnel, which meant that kind of rethinking what we do as a business and who we are give us an opportunity to rebrand. And I think that's where I am personally at the moment as well. I'm kind of rethinking what I'm doing as a person, as a dad. I mean, I'm a dad to an adult now, which is mad. Do you know what I mean? Like, my daughter's 18, and it's made me rethink what I want to do and how I want to spend my years going into my 50s. Do I want to be working my ass off day in, day out, doing 18-hour days in an agency, when I need to be spending time with my 13-year-old boy and my 18-year-old daughter before she decides to settle down with someone or whatever? And that's where kind of like this new journey, which I'm sure you'll allude to, has come about.
Yeah, and I think that's spot on, because I've learned over the years. Obviously, I don't take for granted that I had a big exit and a, you know, life changing moment. But then since then, I tried to chase, like, trying to do it again, or I felt this pressure that, you know, gotta do it again, gotta do it again. And like, it wasn't until it's been 3 years now. It wasn't until about 6 months ago I kind of just stopped and I went, what are you doing? Like you say, just enjoy it. And I've got a 12 and an 8-year-old, and she say it's flying by now. And I also think there's this pressure in business, isn't there, where oh, that 5-person agency you have, it needs to be 10, it needs to be 20, it needs to be 30, and it doesn't. It needs to work for you as an owner, doesn't it? You know. So yeah, did that break up then a bit? Or...
Yeah, it ever so slightly glitched there, yeah, but yeah.
Hopefully Riverside did its thing and redo it, but yeah. Because I was just kind of saying how this seems this pressure in the world with all the videos that you see on Instagram by these gurus and stuff, that you have to grow, you have to 10x your profits, you have to do this 17-figure business, and it doesn't work like that. It's got to work for you as an owner, hasn't it?
I think that there's a lot of things out of control in business, out of your control, sorry, in business, that as an owner you try and prepare for all eventualities, but you don't foresee clients turning around and saying, I'm not going to pay you, or they go bust, or something happens that, you know, hinders a project's success. And some of those things, you know, you try and be held accountable for, or you try and hold other people accountable for. And you see, I just want to allude to something that you said then about all these online gurus and stuff like that. I mean, you know this from seeing them, and we've been in the same room when there's been people who profess to be gurus there, and a lot of them they're blagging it as well. And they're trying to get through and say that they're doing stuff that they're not always necessarily doing. And one thing I've tried to pride myself on in terms of business is being open and honest. If people have come to us with big projects and we've not been able to do them for one reason or another, whether it be personnel, whether it be skill set, whether it be it's not our speciality, I will always say no. My dad always said to me, say yes and find a solution later. Yeah. And I've done it on occasions when I've worked for other people and it's gone wrong, and I've thought, I just don't want to do that as a business. So yeah, I think finding solutions to problems and stuff like that has kind of led me down this path to what I'm doing now, because I was really miserable at times and not really enjoying life, and my daughter was growing up and I was thinking, oh God, I'm old now. And solution to the problem that I was having personally was, I haven't really got any hobbies anymore. Do you know what I mean? I've got nothing that I'm doing for me as a business owner, and you'll know this from being a business owner yourself. You invest so much heart and soul and time into a business that the other time that you do have, you're focusing that on other people. You don't give time to yourself anymore. And I think that that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, so, yeah, like I'm sure we'll we'll come back around talking business and that. But yeah, so something I saw on Instagram, it was it last year you did a charity event for Stand Up?
Yeah.
Because I looked into it myself. It's something...
I think you'd smash it, mate. I think you'd be really good at it.
I think I'd signed up to it, but I'd done a Strictly Come Dancing for my local charity, and that took up like 12 weeks of my life, and that comedy was just after it, and I think at the time I just went, it's just a bit too much, so it might be something I'll come round to. But
how did the Strictly Come Dancing go? I'm intrigued now.
Apparently I did a jive. Yeah, it was good. It was really enjoyable. Met some great bunch of people, and they had judges on the night. One was former Corrie actress, one was a local theatre guy. But they said
Okay.
my arse wiggled well, so I, I'll take that. Really, the year in Oldham, it said for the night, so I took that. But
Yeah,
it was a really good process, and yeah, Dr. Kershaw's in Oldham. It's for a good charity. It raised
I love it.
thousands. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's one I'll swerve that. Unless I can get like a 10 from them for doing the worm. That is my party piece, the worm. Other than that, I've got nothing else in my locker, mate.
yeah, yeah. But you have got in your locker is comedy then.
Yeah, I mean, my mum and dad have been calling me a clown for the last 43 years, so I thought I might as well try and make some money out of it, or do something that kind of uses that skill set as it is. I mean, going back to something I said before about being arty and creative and stuff like that, something that I always found easy growing up was just putting smiles on people's faces, whether it was like pulling a daft face or telling a daft joke, or a dad joke as it's called now because I'm 43 and all jokes are dad jokes at this age. And just trying to, yeah, just I guess make people smile is something that I've always kind of wanted to do. And it's not for approval, it's not for, recognition. It's just, I always like to try and make people feel good. And I think that the comedy aspect of it, when ultra comedy kind of popped up on my radar, I asked a couple of people that I kind of knock about with if they were interested, and everyone said no. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it. And I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. I can genuinely say that, mate. Like, from meeting the other people with similar mindsets, and all of them come from very different walks of life, but everything kind of boiled down to that wanting to try something new and do something for themselves, and obviously make people laugh. And it was just a really humbling experience to see people put their heart and soul out there, but in a funny, comedic way. And that's the kind of comedy that I like doing. I talk a lot about my heritage, my family situation, my kids. Like, an ongoing joke is the fact that my daughter's 18, she's at university, she's very academic, she's brilliant, but her brother's very different. Like, his favourite flavour crayon is purple. And just like make a joke about the fact that they are two very different kids. And as much as I love them both equally, it's a situation that a lot of parents find, like, no two kids are the same. And yeah, I mean, long story short, loved it. The first one was a really nervy experience, and if you've seen the video, and I'm sure you might have done, some guy heckled me in the crowd, but it was an unintentional heckle. He was actually watching a video on his phone really, really loud whilst I was on stage.
Oh God.
And I called him out on it, and as I called him out on it, in my head it went really well. I turned into like Paul Smith or Jimmy Carr, and I thought, I'm going to ruin this guy. And then I completely forgot what I wanted to say. I just froze. And I can't remember what I called him. I can't remember what I said, but it went down really well. Everyone laughed at it, and it kind of eased my nerves. And since then, I've been doing a little bit of kind of open mic stuff and compare stuff. And I mean, I've been DJing on and off for 25 years, doing parties, clubs, bars, restaurants. So I was always kind of comfortable in front of people. But when it's just you and a microphone, not hiding behind a song or a track or anyone else, it's something very different. But yeah, I can honestly say, like, I'm really enjoying the journey at the moment.
So how has the process been? Because I work with someone locally on public speaker training, and he had a bit of a history in stand up, and I was shocked at the work that goes into these routines. You think they're just going chatting to a few, 1,000 people, but like you said, so have you learned like all the behind the scenes? Do you follow a script? How does it kind of work?
Kind of, and I think it's like business mentoring or presentation to a client. Like, they will always throw a curveball comment or question in there, and I think that you can only script it to within about 75% because you don't know what the crowd's reaction is going to be. Similar to when you're doing a pitch for a business project or a design project, if you're putting something forward and somebody asks a question that you're not prepared for, you have to kind of think on your feet. But that's the adrenaline side of it. That's the bit that I love. Like, when somebody says something going right back to my first experience on stage doing comedy, and that guy saying something to me, like going, without kind of like cacking my pants and trying to go back at him, you have to be kind of reactive. And I think that business has taught me that I can do that in comedy as well. Preparing for all eventualities is something that I alluded to before, and in comedy you can't do that. You just have to kind of think on the hop. So there is a scripted element to it, and I think, like, going back to the joke about the kids there, and you know, I do have probably 6 or 7 go-tos, which I feel people can relate to. But again, it's different people, different environments. Like in business as well, you have different clients, so you have to adapt to their tone of voice, to the way that they react to things, to the way that they do things. And I think that I've got a massive run of dates coming up. It sounds like I'm on tour. I'm not on tour. A lot of it is free. I'm getting paid for like 2 of them. The rest of them I'm just doing open mic nights. But it's all very different. So I'm adapting the set to suit the different environments. So yeah, it's very similar to business comedy, but obviously you're making people laugh rather than taking the money.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, because like I say, it's a good. I think I saw Jason Manford a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, he's elite, isn't he, in the net? But he did a good dad joke segment, and he was saying about dad jokes that they're not for your kids to get now. They're a legacy that if you're old or you've lost your mind, they'll be older and they'll chuckle and they'll go, "Ha! Remember when Dad used to make that joke?" And say they're a legacy, and I really like that concept because, like I say, when they roll their eyes and go, "Oh," but then years later they go, "My Dad was funny, weren't he?" Like that's what they're about.
Yeah, it's true, and I think I'm taking stuff that my old man said to me when I was younger now and putting it into stuff. And my dad actually came to a gig that I did over in Atherton, not far from me, and he sat there with a face on him the entire time. He didn't laugh at anything that I said until I told his joke, and then he was like peeing himself laughing. I was like, yeah, it's dad jokes, you know. But again, I mean, you are just kind of fumbling your way through sets sometimes, and some people find some stuff funny, some things will land, some things won't, and it is the same as businesses. There's so many parallels. It's unreal, but it's helping me get through it because I've had those experiences in a different environment.
Guess you've got to be pretty damn resilient, haven't you? Like, because yeah, cause I can imagine, like, if you really take things to heart, you're like, oh no, forget it, I'm going.
I mean, I'm a pretty resilient character anyway. I think, you know, growing up without, you know, pulling on the heartstrings or playing the violin and stuff like that. Like, I'm a second generation immigrant growing up in a small town, and when you've got brown skin and your dad looks a bit foreign and stuff like that, kids are horrible, aren't they? And, you know, adults are horrible, some of them, especially, you know, with what's going on nowadays. But I do call on a lot of those experiences and put them into the set. Like a funny story the other week, I do some work up at a rugby club, and one of the hotels nearby is housing some of the immigrants. Anyway, there was no parking space where the staff usually park, so I had to park on the hotel, and it was freezing, so I had my hood up and put my backpack on, and I'm walking across the car park, and some guy started hurling like abuse at me, thinking I was an Afghani immigrant, and actually I was going into the thing. And it's just the mentality of people nowadays is actually going backwards. But if you call on that and you make a joke of it and you make light heart of it, you do get people on side. I mean, we had a guy in a wheelchair at the last show, and he was a daft racist. He was a daft racist. And I wound him up. I said, "You're not the guy who's been putting all those flags up on the lampposts, are you?" And obviously the joke was, he's in a chair, he can't get up there. But he laughed at it, and we got him on side. But yeah, he still waited outside to batter me afterwards.
Is that the makeup under that eye, is it? Yeah.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I'm just there, bags under the eye from work rather than comedy. But I think, yeah, like you've said, mate, on a number of occasions when we've met and we've spoke, you know, you try and plan as best you can for everything, don't you? And 9 times out of 10, those plans fall by the wayside because other things happen to change the trajectory that you're going on. And I think that this comedy element now has given me a new lease of life to want to get out and socialise a little bit more, because I think as a businessman, unless you're out there putting your business out there on a daily basis at networking events and stuff like that, you do become quite introverted, don't you? I think because you're so heavily concentrated on what you're doing, and alluding to something you said before, that need to succeed and turn over, a profit, that your kind of social life goes by the wayside a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So,
But as you say, like I'm, this has been born from sick of seeing all these like you say, follow this blueprint and you'll have an 8-figure business in 2 years, and have an ice bath at 6 in the morning every single day, and suddenly you'll be manifesting power, and it's like, shut up, like,
yeah.
yeah.
My favourite worst quote is, if that makes sense, is if you get up in the morning and you make your bed before you leave the house, you've already achieved something. And I just think, as a quote, if you're a business mentor or coach using that quote, you need to seriously reevaluate what you're doing, mate. Yeah.
Don't tell my wife that; she'll be making me make bed.
Yeah.
No, yeah. She has a habit of the missy. She makes half of it and leaves my side sometimes just to prove a point. And I'm like, come on, love.
Yeah, like the next door neighbour that only mows half the lawn, he doesn't mow your side. Yeah.
Or cleans the caravan and splats mud all over your car. Yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things as well. Stuff like that is brilliant to call upon, because you do meet people in business as well as in life that I mean, Peter Kay, I've seen interviews of him, and he said, like, a lot of the characters that he did in Phoenix Nights are based on people that he's met. And I've met a few people on the circuit now. I've been lucky enough to meet a few people on the circuit now. We base the characters and the comedy around people that they meet on a day-to-day basis. And I think that being a business owner and being part of a different world, being able to call on those situations and use that in comedies, it's an outlet. Otherwise, you'd moan about it all the time.
I can't remember his name, but have you seen that guy on TikTok who does the Sid character? He's Australian, I think.
Oh, yeah, no, I think I have, yeah.
Narcissistic manager, Sid.
Yeah.
Sid, and that he always puts his captions based off a real life manager. I
Yeah.
think that's brilliant. That he's absolutely gone to town with it.
Yeah. Well, like one of my favourite series is The Office, and you look at
God, yeah.
Ricky Gervais in The Office, and he, honestly, I've worked for people like that. I've met people in environments that I think, oh my God, that is so true. And like calling upon those experiences now, like the working in the adult industry, like telling that story about measuring dildos and stuff like that, and just it's a bizarre experience, and people think it's a lie, but it happened, and it's just funny. Like, even now I make jokes about the rugby lads. Like, I work up at Lee, and I'll go in the changing room afterwards, and there's nothing makes you feel less of a man than seeing 24 like ripped 6'2" lads all stood there in speedos, and you're questioning your life choices. I might not have that second kebab this week. I might just knock it on the head. So yeah, it's fun.
It's so true that.
Yeah.
No, it is good. So yeah, good. Like you're going about like Phoenix Nights. It just a genius program. And I remember the statement at the end of one of the series, Keith Laird saying, and there was a genuine Keith Laird fire inspector involvement. And it's like, this is not the Keith Laird, and they're like, yeah, all right.
Yeah. The characters in this episode, whilst they may resemble people, are not replicating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get that. And I think I've told some stories previously about a guy who used to bully me as a kid. He was horrible kid. He was like flipping Sid off Toy Story, one of those who used to burn action men and kick frogs and stuff like that, and just horrible character. And I remember bumping into him not long ago, and he's a mess. He's a mess, and you think to yourself, like, you call on these lifehood experiences and you make childhood experiences, you make jokes and stuff about it, and it's great because you can call upon it and you feel at peace with it. And seeing people who've been horrible to you and stuff in the past, and you think, you know what, I'm actually in a better place myself now. And whilst as dads, as men, as comedians, as businessmen, you know, you question yourself on a daily basis. Am I doing the right thing as a parent? Am I doing the right thing as a boss? Is that joke a bit too near the knuckle? Is it gonna land? And then actually there's a lot of people out there who you're trying to prove wrong that you don't have to do that to anymore, because they're doing worse off than you are. So
yeah. You'll know, obviously, you bringing up kids, and your one's not elderly, Jesus, 18's not elderly yet, is it? He's older.
Makes me feel elderly.
You think back to me in school. I remember people saying to me that rise above that bully, they'll go on to do nothing with their life. But when you're a kid, you just can't get your head around that. It's like, well, no, they're popular, everyone's laughing at them, they're beating, but then, as you say, you meet people years later and you go, oh yeah, you were always destined to be a loser, weren't you? But trying to get that into kids, it's so hard because you can't see it at the time, can you?
No, and I think that my kid, like I try and run some of my jokes and stuff past the kids, and similar to what you said before, dad jokes, they'll roll their eyes, oh, it's not funny that, dad, but to like 40-odd-year-old blokes like us, they laugh at it. And I mean, I had a word with my little lad the other week. I can't remember who told the joke. I think it was the Canadian comedian Tom Snade, and he tells a joke about he has a kid and this kid's an angel and brilliant, and he thinks he's going to have another kid and it's going to be his best mate, and actually he's not bred his best mate, he's bred his arch nemesis. Like before they're at loggerheads. And my little boy was always like a chatty kid at school, but didn't have a massive amount of mates and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, he's going to go up to high school, he's going to meet people, and he's not. He's met his arch nemesis, and this kid, I'm not even afraid of saying it. You shouldn't say it as an adult, but this other kid is a tool. He's an absolute sausage. And I've tried to have conversations with this kid's mum and dad about, like, look, you need to keep them apart, you know, maybe they're too similar in ways and that's why they're clashing. And going back to you're always destined to be a loser, like the parents, you breed what the kid does. And I think with my boy, I'm trying not to say his name, I try and say to him, like, look, you'll become more resilient from this, and these learning experiences that you're having at school will shape you to be a better person moving forward. And then I'll get a phone call the next day saying he's gone in and chinned him. So, yeah.
It's the old school mentality, isn't it? They used to say, "Oh, just hit a bully harder than they hit you," but then they get in trouble, you get excluded for assault. It's like, all right, okay.
Yeah, and I think that these learning experiences are something that we never had to deal with as kids at school. I think if we got in a scrap at school, you get a clip around the ear off your teacher, stood in the corner, or put in detention, and suspension wasn't one of those things. And I think it's difficult for kids to deal with things nowadays. And if my lad, and he is a lot like me, goes into anything like comedy or script writing or something like that, the way that he sees the world and the way that he communicates his feelings are going to be completely different to mine. But I'm trying to guide him on the right path, and he is actually guiding me on a path for better jokes and better material on the way that he reacts to things. So, yeah.
But as you say, like with kids now, because it's a lot that I'm kind of working on as well, is with social media now, it just don't stop. Like you say, when we were younger, if there was a scrap happened, oh, everyone's on the fight, and then it'd get split up and you'd go home and get up. But now, like, it's going on into the night, they're rowing on Snapchat, but then parents are marching into the school saying, you need to sort this out, and the teachers are going, well, it was on a third-party app at 8 o'clock at night, nothing to do with us. And it just comes down to the parenting, but it's such, the lines are so blurred.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because one of the situations that my lad's found himself in recently, there's a kid at school who, and it's weird because you know this, you come from this world, he's an influencer at like 13, 14 years of age, and he was on Snapchat, and he was like the Eddie Hearn of the playground fight world. He was like interviewing kids, saying, so what have you got to say about this person who said that he's going to call you out? And it was almost like, have you seen those gypsy call out videos?
Yeah.
Oh, and we got called in one day, me and the other half, and said, oh, your boy's been caught on video saying that he's going to do this, that, and that to the other. And it was like a full promo video. They put music over it, they put graphics over it, and my boy's there, yeah, when I get you to one side, I'm going to hit you with the left, I'm going to hit you with the right, you're going to be on your back. And I'm thinking to myself, this is social media now. This is what the kids have got to deal with. Like, we had an argument, and we didn't see that kid again till the next day. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, it carries on into the night with Snapchat, with Instagram, with all the other bits and pieces. So
it's because I remember, because I'm 36, so I was in about year 11 getting into sixth form when like the Nokia camera phones were just getting enough to make stuff out, but so that used to fuel fights, I remember, but they'd be pixelated to me. It looked like Mario fighting, like now it's like full on productions, as you say, with let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah, well, even pixelated video, you'd be able to pick my lad out in a crowd because he looks like Milhouse off The Simpsons. So, like, you see him on a pixelated video, and like, yeah, it's definitely him. So he can't get away with anything. And I've told him this because of obviously the way he looks, and I think he's a beautiful kid. Like, I love him. I'm his dad at the end of the day. But I said, like, you're so distinctive looking, mate. Like, you do something, say something, get caught on camera, you're gonna get nailed for it. And again, calling on the comedy side of things, I get told that I look like just a generic Asian comedian all the time, and the joke about that is I'm not even Asian. I just get, you know what I mean? I get called all sorts. I think I've been beat up for being every race under the sun other than Maltese. No one guesses that you're Maltese, do they? So yeah, it's quite funny. But
is that your heritage then? Is it?
Yeah, that's where my old man's from. So he came over. He was early teens when he landed over here, and it was the time when obviously Britain was asking for people to come over and support with work that Brits didn't want to do. And I think that we're still very much in that, that mindset, aren't we? There's a lot of jobs that, Polish, Romanians, Eastern Europeans, people will come over and they will do it. And then you've still got these Brits going, oh, stealing our jobs. Yeah, but you don't want to do that job. So let them crack on with it. Yeah. And it's, again, I find that quite funny in the sense that mindset, regardless of how far we've come as a society, we've not come that far at all when you really boil it down. But yeah, luckily my son's got, or not luckily, depending on the way you want to look at it, he's got his mum's complexion and she's like Casper the Friendly Ghost. So he's not as dark as me, so he doesn't get any grief for that. So yeah.
Yeah. I just realised I'm drinking Coke, but I'm not sponsored. It's not yet. I'm not. Get Gary Neville drinking Huel. Have a Huel.
Yeah, roller cola.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, Gary Neville's been a big topic of conversation recently in the comedy world because he just again he's someone who's blagging it and kind of muddling through life. He's gone from football to businessman to part-time armchair politician, and I think you've got to be careful. I think this from being quite heavily followed on socials without blowing smoke up here. Like, you've got to be careful what you say, and I'm the same. I'm very mindful about what I say on stage or in a club, because it only takes one wrong thing to get you cancelled, this cancel culture now. And whilst everyone's like campaigning for free speech and being able to say what you want to say, there's always that thing in the back of your mind that's actually, say that, I'm not going to say it.
The thing is, though, usually when people saying I want free speech doesn't allow you to be a dickhead.
No.
But that's what they think it can. Oh, it's free speech, I can say what I want. Well, really, like, you've still got to be social, like, and be nice, and
Yeah, and I think that these people who campaign for that genuinely and most of the time don't have a lot to say. Do you know what I mean? These people who think, oh, I should be able to say what I want to say. Well, go on then, say what you want to say. And actually, what they're saying means nothing at all. It's just nonsense, isn't it? And I think that's part of the reason that I got into comedy as well. And again, the risk of saying something a bit kind of near the knuckle. There's a lot of shit comedians out there who've made a lot of money. And I'm not saying that I'm any better than them, but I've seen a lot better on the circuit, on the independent circuit and on the amateur circuit, and very similar to agencies as well. I've seen a lot of agencies that are making a lot of money that are nowhere near as good as some of these people who are one-man bands.
I felt that with like public speaking. When I first exited the business, I did a couple of talks and everyone was like, your story's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd pay to watch that on any stage. And I tried. I've been to events and I've seen these speakers, or you hear, they've been paid $4,000 for this appearance, and I've just been sat there shaking my head going,
why?
Like, but it's, I bring it back to like the humble doesn't sell kind of thing. I've never been bolshy enough to really, but I've come to learn humble doesn't sell, but it doesn't sell quickly, So you could have a big bang. I could have gone to the town and been flashing the pan like a lot of things are, but it's like net worth. Your network's your net worth. Is, you keep applying yourself well across months and months and months. Eventually, it'll get there, rather than someone meets you 2 years ago and you see him 2 years later and they go, you were a dick last time, kind of thing. So
yeah, and I think I've come across a few of those people as well, and I think you'll have done the circuits as much as I have on the networking scene, and when you see these people who are keynote speakers, and some of these keynote speakers aren't worth the print of the flyers that you get given, and you think to yourself, like, how have they commanded a fee to tell a story that, one, feels a bit bullshitty, and two, isn't going to inspire anyone else in the room? And 9 times out of 10, you'll find that you'll get talking to someone at the bar or sat having a coffee, and they'll have a more inspiring conversation and story. And I think that that's what I've found out on the comedy circuit as well. You speak to people at these open mic nights, and some of the stories that they've got, and they're now putting a comedic spin or a light-hearted spin on it. It's unbelievable, and you admire them for that. And again, similar to business and comedy, has a lot of parallels in the sense that, one, everyone's kind of muddling the way through it. Two, everybody is doing their best to get a result, whether it be, achieving a bottom line or achieving a laugh. And finally, you just want to be happy doing it. You just want to be happy doing it, whether you're on stage not dying, making people laugh, or you're in an office trying not to make mistakes for the best of your clients. And yeah, they do have a lot of parallels, and I think that that's why at this moment my comedy happiness is imposing onto my business happiness and actually making me feel a lot more comfortable in what I do on a day-to-day 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, which is official office hours.
Or 24 hours when you're into it too deep.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, am I going to say that I'm doing everything right in business at the moment? Probably not, but I think that what I'm doing in my personal life is influencing that a lot more, and making me make better decisions, because I've got something else to fall back on and concentrate and take my mind off stuff now. I used to procrastinate a lot and really let things get me down, and I find I am more open to turning my laptop off at 6, 7 o'clock at night now, instead of working till 9, 10 o'clock at night, because I think, actually, I'm going to write a couple of jokes, or I'm going to work on something else, or I've already promised my mate that I'd go to that open mic night. So it's the two of them are actually helping each other out at the moment, which is great.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I've been trying to think of questions to ask without the usual dookiness, but I suppose, because you've given a lot of advice out over there, but I was just like, if you could, well, you've got an 18-year-old, so what is, if that sounds awful, if it was the last conversation you used to have with him, what would you say to him?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's my son is the younger one, my daughter's the older one. Yeah, no, it's all right. I think with her, I mean, I've had a few awkward conversations with her as an 18-year-old. She's at uni and boys and all that. But my learnings over the last 12 months have probably been more relevant to my lifestyle and more, they've really kind of imposed more on my family, like my mental state and stuff like that. And it's just be happy. I think just be happy. Do whatever you want to be happy. I think, she didn't get the grades that she wanted to go to the university that she wanted to, and she went into like a real deep funk for a few days. And I was like, listen, there's always something else you can do. Like, I was never destined to make porn DVD covers and dildo boxes for the rest of your life. I was always destined to do something else. And these things happen for a reason, that if you don't get in, just find something else that makes you happy and run with it. And it's the same advice I give my little lad, like, if football's not for you, you don't have to do football. I don't expect you to be the next Ronaldo or Messi. Just do whatever makes you happy. So much so that he's actually more enjoying rugby at the moment. And it just, I think it just gives us an opportunity in life to let your children do what they want to do, but take that little bit of advice from you to get there.
Yeah. I love that, because as you say, you get some parents who are like forcing the kids on a path that sometimes the kids are not happy, but so yeah, I say you've got to let them be. But it's quite an interesting point. I just thought then, because with the younger generation, like you say, you want them to be ambitious, but I used to find with our old, well, I'll say my old company, it still exists, but it's not mine anymore. We've got quite a young workforce. It's a fine line between instilling them with confidence and them not being too much at once. Like, been there 6 months and where's my promotion? It's like, whoa, like, you've got to work for this kind of thing. But we want you to be ambitious, reach for the stars. I want you to be running this company in 5 years, but just learn it first.
Yeah. I think I'm lucky enough to have two families, as cheesy as it sounds. I've got my own family who, you know, I love to bits, and I'm trying to steer my kids on the right path. But I have my work kids as well, and that, you know, that they're in the room at the moment, and they're nodding their heads, and like, I've built my business on bringing in young apprentices and young talent, and it's based on something that I said before. Like, they weren't happy at school, they weren't academic, they didn't really have a path to go down, but they knew they wanted to do something creative, but weren't really given that opportunity. And I think the stresses and strains that you get at school, and the kind of expectation that's put on your shoulders as a young kid at 16 years of age to get good grades, to then go to college, to then go to university, when there are other pathways out there like apprenticeships. All of the girls who work for me and the lads who work for me are all apprentices, and they've all been given an opportunity to learn on the job. And I think at 16, 17 years of age, had that been an option for me to do that in the creative sector, I would have 100% gone down that path. Mm-hmm. And I think, going back to something I said before about both my kids being two very different children, like Nina, my daughter, is so academic that she was always going to go to university. I think my lad is 100% going to go down the apprenticeship route, because I think structure and work for him would be a better learning experience than sitting in a classroom. And I think that, you know, having a young workforce, it keeps me young. It means that, you know, I can stay up to date with modern trends and stuff like that, which I need to in the creative sector. But it also makes me aware of their needs. I mean, as a grumpy old man, which is what I class myself as now, you know, I remember being 18, 19 years of age and going into work not feeling very well, and my boss would be like, man up. You can't say that now. You can't say it. And I think that you take into account, you know, at the risk of banging the mental health drum, you know, you take into account the pressures and the strains that 16 to 18-year-olds are under. They're still kids. They're still kids, despite what, you know, the law might say an 18-year-old's an adult. Look, I know for a fact that working with 18-year-olds, sometimes you do have to treat them a little bit like a kid, because they're still a teenager, and they appreciate it because you give them that guidance and that support that they need for their age level. You can't just give an 18-year-old and a 40-year-old the same treatment. It doesn't work. And it's the same with comedy, it's the same with business. You have to adapt to each situation.
Yeah, I got an IT apprenticeship. I got a D at A-level business studies, got an IT apprenticeship, and like you say, the rest is history years later. But that apprenticeship just showed me like what hard work means, and took that into my business without realising it. So yeah, no, it is key. And as you say, we get like people, you seem to get two people, either anti-uni or love uni. And I'm neither, because I always use the example. If I've got someone, if I have an heart attack tomorrow and I'm having open heart surgery, I damn want that doctor to have a degree. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on. Let's be honest. I don't want to run an apprenticeship opening up someone's heart. Like, come on. But sometimes there is other routes, as you say. You don't have to go to uni just because it's there. Like, so.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's applicable to certain situations, isn't it? And I think, you know, the creative sector which we are both in technically, there's so many different routes into it now, and I think that accessibility is a thing as well. Like the fact that there's things like Canva and CapCut and all these different platforms out there that Joe Blogs off the street can download and call themselves a creative, and they don't necessarily have to have an apprenticeship. They can watch YouTube tutorials, they can go to mentorship programs, they can go to one-day courses, and they can get into this sector quite easily just through having the want to learn, the desire to learn, the want to go down that route. And I think that obviously I'm in an industry where that is, you know, basically down to your own self-motivation. If you want to do it, you can go out and do it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's not applicable to being a doctor or a heart surgeon. You have to have the mindset, the nous, the intelligence.
I operated on a frog once. Can I be a vet? Like,
it doesn't work, does it? Yeah. But I think, again, and there's so many parallels. Comedy's the same thing. Like, you don't have to be the guy in the room that makes everybody laugh all the time. You just have to be adaptable to situations, know what is and isn't funny, and be able to kind of call on your experiences and communicate it in a timely fashion and well. I mean, as a kid, I stammered quite a bit, and I do under certain experiences and in certain environments, I get what they call delayed speech. So I'll and I'll and you'll hear me go, similar to you when you froze before. If I'm in front of 200 people and I have a bit of a brain fart, I'll go, and then someone needs to wind me back up. They have to do a mental reset and go again.
Just help was buffering.
Do you know what? I do feel like I'm mentally buffering sometimes, but again, the coping mechanism of being able to get up on stage and speak about life experiences and then using that, because they are confidence building experiences, being in front, similar to you when you did your dancing in front of people. I cannot think of doing anything worse. I absolutely shat my pants, and as many times as I've been in like drunken dance-offs at rugby clubs and football clubs, that is not the same thing. And like telling a joke at a pub in front of your mates and getting 5 or 6 of them to laugh is like a mental pat on the back, but standing in front of 200, 300 people and presenting a scripted set of comedy is, again, completely different.
I think what you mentioned before about it doesn't always have to be funny as well. I think one of the most powerful pieces of stand-up comedy I've seen was after when Caroline Flack passed away. Joel Demet did a gig the day after, and he opened up the set and just said, "I've got to address this," and it was one of the most powerful speeches I've ever heard about mental health and about being kind to each other. And this is a guy who's going to go on for another 90 minutes, taking the piss out of everything. But at the start, he just went, we've got to look after each other. And that clip is just like, whoa, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And I think that one thing that does differentiate the creative sector to, and you might have found something different to comedy, is there's a lot of camaraderie in the comedy like circuit and circles. We all help each other out. We've if I can't do a gig, I'll recommend someone else. I'll support someone. In the creative sector, I've found sometimes there's a little bit of backsniping and bitching, and I don't really like that. I've always been an advocate of supporting other people, and something, again, I know I keep going back, that I said before. If someone comes to us and said, "Do you do animation?" I'm not going to say yes and then outsource it. I'm going to say, no, I don't, but I do know somebody who does it. And I know for a fact when I've pitched for jobs in the past, and other people who I've known have pitched for jobs, they've not put us forward despite us being the best people for the job. And it's something that I pride myself on in my business, in particular, being able to put people forward. I mean, he won't mind me mentioning him, Tim Marner. Like, I used to watch Tim Marner and think, this guy's a sausage. And then I used to watch him again and again, and then think, actually, he's a really sound bloke. And then I got talking to him, and I thought, actually, he is a sound bloke. He's a good guy, and we're not mates, but we're on talking terms. And I recommend him all the time for bigger brand projects that I potentially can't facilitate. And watching him take on those projects and succeed in them gives me a little sense of self-worth that I'm actually giving something back to somebody else who, you know, I don't really class as a mate, but he's a good guy, and he's definitely someone I look up to in the industry. And it's the same with comedy. Like, there's people who I've met on the circuit who aren't as confident as me, don't do as many gigs as me, but are a lot funnier than me, and I'll put them forward. So much so, there's a lad called Joe Gursky who I've got on my next gig on Thursday, tomorrow. This won't be going out tomorrow, so scrap that bit. So a guy who I've got on a gig who, again, he's been doing the circuit, and I think he's absolutely hilarious, but he's just not had the break that he deserves. But I'm putting him in front of an audience tomorrow, and I've said it again, I'm putting him in front of an audience, and he's definitely going to smash it. Yeah. But yeah, it's like you, mate. I mean, I've put you forward for stuff as well, and I know that you've mentioned my name to other people as well, and I think that there's one thing in the world that we don't do, and again, calling back on what you just said then, is looking after each other a lot more. And I think professionally, personally, you know, in your hobbies, if you can introduce a little bit of happiness and recommendations and referrals and support to people in your circle, the world will be a much happier place.
Yeah, I think that's a cracking summary, really, of everything. So, yeah, I think, like I said, kind of coming to the end now. So, I think, like you say, we had that chat about what you'd say to an 18-year-old kind of thing. So business-wise now, obviously you said it's intertwining with your comedy. Have have you just found like a happy place with your business? Are you looking to expand it? Are you just happy with what you're doing? You know, because I think that's what I like a message of. It's okay to be. You know, it's okay to do what you like. You know, so you don't have to go and hire 10 more members of staff, bring in 20 more clients. Because what is it? Double the overhead, double the stress.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, more people, more problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the whole, it epitomises what you're kind of trying to communicate at the moment. I would love to be able to plan for the next 5 years and say, this is what I want to achieve and this is what I want to do. And whilst it's okay to put targets in place, there's so many things that could happen between now and then. And I'm not saying that I kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I do plan, and there are kind of goals that I've set myself in place for 2026. But I am very much, especially with what I'm doing at the moment, my mindset is kind of what will be, will be.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a great phrase that I can't remember what it was, but I've seen it on Instagram 1,000 times and people forward it to me. And I think it's Tom Hanks, and he says like, "This too shall pass," is a quote that he uses. And I think we've been through some really shitty times as a business. So much so that 6 months ago, I put all of my team on notice and said, look, we've got 2 months to really succeed. Otherwise, business is gone. And all of them have stepped up and really worked the backsides off to get us back on track, including myself. And we're on an upward trajectory now and we're getting to where we need to be again. But do I want to be bigger than that? I just want to be happy, mate, and I want them to be happy. I want to pay them what they're worth. I want them to do what they're asked to do and enjoy it. And I want to enjoy the projects that I'm working on, be it personal or business-wise. So, yeah, I mean, that's it really for me.
That's a great summary of that. So where can we find you on the socials then?
Yeah, so I mean, you know what? Considering I work in social media, I've been really lazy with it because I've filmed my last 7 or 8 gigs and I'm still ready to edit them. But again, like that's business.
Issues.
Yeah. So yeah, Richard Renda on Instagram. I'm continually putting out gigs and venues that I'm working at. Buzzbear Design and Marketing on Instagram for my business. But yeah, I mean, if you want to come and have a laugh, come along to my comedy gigs. If you want to do any business with us, then give us a shout. But yeah, really appreciate you having me on, mate.
No, brilliant. Yeah, no, it's been a great chat, and yeah, thank you. So yeah, we'll leave it there, and thanks for watching, everyone. If you've made it to the end, so cheers, bye bye.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, Ryan. Ta.